I'm sitting in my corner office on a Tuesday morning looking out at the Boston skyline through these massive windows that stretch from floor to ceiling. My assistant Julia buzzes in, and there's this tremor in her voice I've never heard before. She says my parents are downstairs in the lobby asking to see me. For a second, I'm 17 again, standing on that porch in Connecticut with a duffel bag slung over my shoulder and $40 in crumpled bills shoved in my pocket. I can still hear my father's voice cutting through the spring air. "You'll never amount to anything." I take a slow breath, straighten my tie, and tell Julia something I've waited 20 years to say. Tell them I'm busy. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story gets deeper than you might expect. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Growing up in suburban Connecticut, I had what looked like a perfect childhood from the outside. My father, Marcus, ran a successful insurance firm, the kind of guy who wore pressed suits even on Saturdays and believed there was exactly one right way to live your life. My mother, Patricia, kept an immaculate house and never questioned anything my father said. My younger sister, Caroline, was everything they wanted in a kid. Straight A's debate team captain, already talking about Yale when she was 14 years old. Me, I was different. I loved music. I'd stay up until 2 in the morning writing songs on this beat-up acoustic guitar I'd bought with money from mowing lawns. I'd perform at coffee shops downtown, tiny places where maybe 15 people would show up on a good night. But those nights felt more real to me than anything happening at our formal family dinners, where we ate in silence, unless my father was lecturing someone about responsibility and planning for the future. By the time I was 16, the tension in our house was thick enough to choke on. My father had my entire life mapped out. Business degree at his alma mater, internship at his firm, eventually taking over when he retired. He talked about it like it was already decided, like my opinion was just a formality he was tolerating until I came to my senses. My mother would sometimes put her hand on my shoulder when he wasn't looking, this gentle touch that I think was supposed to be supportive, but she never actually said anything. She never stood up for me, not once. The breaking point came junior year. I got my acceptance letter from Berklee College of Music with a scholarship offer. I held that letter in my hands and felt like every song I'd ever written, every late night, every open mic where I poured my heart out had been validated. Someone saw something in me. Someone believed I could do this. I waited until dinner to tell them. We were sitting in our formal dining room with the chandelier my mother polished every Sunday and the china that only came out for special occasions, though I never understood what made a random Tuesday in March special. I pulled out the letter hands, shaking a little because some part of me still hoped they'd be proud. My father read it without changing expression, then set it down next to his plate like it was junk mail. "A hobby," he said, "not a career. The discussion is over." But it wasn't over, not for me. I tried reasoning with him over the next few weeks. I printed out statistics about music industry careers, articles about Berklee alumni who'd gone on to score films and produce albums and make real livings doing what they loved. He wouldn't look at any of it. Instead, he gave me an ultimatum. Business school at a university of his choosing, or I was on my own. Those were my options. Fall in line or get out. I was 17 years old, and I told him I was accepting Berklee's offer. My father didn't yell. That's what I remember most. He got very quiet, very cold. He called me ungrateful, said I was throwing away every advantage he'd worked to give me, said I'd end up a failure living in my car and it would serve me right. My mother cried, but she still didn't say anything to stop him. Caroline watched from the stairs with this blank expression, like she was observing some science experiment that didn't involve her. The next morning I woke up and couldn't open my bedroom door from the inside. My father had installed a bolt on the outside during the night. He'd literally locked me in my own room. I was let out to go to school, then locked back in when I came home. For 2 solid weeks, I lived like a prisoner in my own house. He thought he could break me, make me so desperate for normal life that I'd give in. I didn't give in. The final confrontation happened on a Saturday afternoon in April. I remember it was unseasonably warm, almost 70 degrees, and through my bedroom window I could see neighbors out washing their cars and kids riding bikes. My father came home early from the office, which was unusual. He was calm when he unlocked my door and told me to come downstairs. That calmness should have warned me, but I was still naive enough to hope we were going to actually talk. My mother and Caroline were already in the living room when I got there. My mother's eyes were red and swollen. Caroline stared at her shoes. My father stood by the fireplace with his hands clasped behind his back like he was giving a presentation at work. "You have 1 hour to pack a bag," he said. I thought he was joking. I actually laughed this nervous sound that came out wrong, but he wasn't joking. His face was stone. "You've made your choice," he continued. "Now live with it. You're no longer welcome in this house." The room tilted. I looked at my mother, waiting for her to say something, anything. She wrung her hands and looked away. Caroline examined her shoes like they were the most fascinating objects in the world. Nobody was going to stop this. Nobody was going to help me. I went upstairs with legs that didn't feel connected to my body. My hands shook so badly I could barely fold clothes. I packed whatever fit in my duffel bag, jeans, shirts, my guitar, the notebook where I kept all my songs. At the last second, I grabbed this photo of my grandmother Elena, who'd passed away 2 years earlier. She was the only one who'd ever told me to follow my dreams, who'd sit and listen when I played new songs and tell me they were beautiful. When I came back downstairs with my bag, my father was waiting by the front door. He pulled out his wallet and counted out 2 $20 bills, $40 total. He handed them to me and said the words I'd replay in my head for the next 2 decades. "You'll never amount to anything. Don't come back here expecting help." My mother still wouldn't look at me. I walked past all of them and out onto the porch. Behind me, I heard the door close. Then I heard something worse, the sound of locks turning, the metallic slide of the deadbolt. My father was changing the locks right then, right that moment, making sure I couldn't come back even if I wanted to. I stood there on the sidewalk in front of the house where I'd grown up, where I'd learned to ride a bike and celebrated every birthday until this one. The azaleas my mother had planted when I was 8 were blooming. The basketball hoop my father had installed when I was 10 was still mounted above the garage. Everything looked exactly the same, except I wasn't part of it anymore. I was 17 years old with a duffel bag, a guitar, $40, and nowhere to go. I walked to the park, about 6 blocks away, and sat on a bench as the afternoon turned to evening. I kept taking out those 220s and counting them like maybe I'd missed something, maybe there was more. But no, $40. I tried calling my best friend Kyle, but his phone went to voicemail. Tried 2 other friends, same thing. It was Saturday night. Everyone was out living their normal teenage lives while mine had just imploded. As the temperature dropped, I walked to this 24-hour diner I'd been to a few times. The kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tastes like it was brewed sometime last week. I ordered 1 cup and made it last 3 hours, refilling it with water when the waitress wasn't looking. Her name tag said Dorothy. She was probably in her 60s with tired eyes and sensible shoes, and after the second hour she definitely knew I was homeless. She brought me a blueberry muffin and said it was on the house, yesterday's batch they were going to throw out anyway. That small kindness from a stranger almost broke me. I sat there with this free muffin and felt tears burning in my eyes, but I didn't cry. Something in me was hardening, turning the hurt into something else, something like determination. I spent that first night in the bus station. There were a few other people there, mostly folks waiting for early morning routes, and this security guard who woke me up twice to tell me I couldn't sleep there. By the time the sun came up, I was exhausted and scared and angrier than I'd ever been in my life. Monday morning, I went to school like nothing had happened. Pride kept me from telling anyone. Shame too. How do you explain that your own parents threw you away? After school, I found a youth shelter that would let me stay for up to 7 consecutive days. The room had 4 bunk beds and smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation, but it was warm and safe and free. I got a job that same week stocking shelves at a grocery store 4 hours every evening after school. $32 for 4 hours of work. It seemed like a fortune until I realized how fast it disappeared on food and bus fare. I worked my shifts, went to school, slept at the shelter when I could. When my 7 days were up, I rotated to sleeping at the bus station again until I could get back on the shelter's list. By the 3rd week, I'd lost 12 pounds. My clothes hung off me. I was exhausted all the time, falling asleep in class, barely able to focus. My English teacher, Mrs. Chen, pulled me aside one day and asked if everything was okay at home. I told her everything was fine, but my guidance counselor, Mr. Patterson, was more persistent. He called me into his office and wouldn't let me leave until I told him what was going on. I broke down in that office, told him everything, about my parents, the ultimatum, being kicked out. Mr. Patterson made some calls, and by the end of the day, he'd gotten me into a transitional housing program for youth. It was a house with 4 other teenagers in similar situations, each of us with our own small room. The first night I slept in that bed with actual sheets and a pillow, I cried myself to sleep. Not from sadness, from relief. I graduated high school through sheer stubbornness. My grades had slipped, but I passed everything I needed to pass. I still worked at the grocery store, and I'd picked up a second job washing dishes at a restaurant on weekends. Every single dollar I made went into a shoebox under my bed. By graduation day in June, I had saved $1,200. My parents came to the graduation ceremony. I saw them in the crowd sitting about 20 rows back. My mother wore a yellow dress. My father had his arms crossed. Caroline sat between them, looking uncomfortable. After I got my diploma and the ceremony ended, I watched them leave. They didn't come find me, didn't wave, just walked to their car and drove away. That night, Caroline sent me a text. Just one word, congrats, nothing else. No explanation, no apology, just congrats. I used that anger like fuel. That summer before college, I worked 3 jobs. Mornings on a landscaping crew pulling weeds and spreading mulch in the brutal heat. Afternoons at the grocery store, evenings washing dishes. I barely slept. My hands were covered in blisters and burns, but every week that shoebox got a little heavier. When I moved to Boston for Berkeley in August, I had $3,000 saved. It sounds like a lot until you realize how fast it goes. My housing was this tiny room in an apartment I shared with 3 other scholarship students. We had 1 bathroom and a kitchen the size of a closet. I kept working while taking classes. Weekends at a coffee shop, evenings doing data entry for a marketing firm, whatever I could find that fit around my class schedule. But I was doing it. I was studying music at one of the best schools in the country. Every exhausting day felt like proof that my father had been wrong about me. Sophomore year, one of my songs got picked up by a local indie artist. She recorded it for her album and paid me $500. I held that check and felt something shift inside me. Someone valued my work. Someone was willing to pay for something I'd created. The opportunities kept coming. Junior year, I started working as a session guitarist playing backup on other people's recordings. I wrote jingles for local commercials, the kind of annoying 30-second songs that get stuck in your head about furniture stores and car dealerships. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real money from real music work. That year, I also met Angela. She was studying marketing at a university across town. We met at a campus event, one of those mixers that's supposed to help students network. She asked what I did, and I told her I was a songwriter. She didn't laugh or look skeptical. She said that was beautiful and asked if she could hear something sometime. We got coffee the next day. I brought my guitar and played her a song I'd written about starting over. She cried. We started dating a week later. Angela was the first person I told my whole story to. All of it. The ultimatum being locked in my room, my father's words on that porch. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she said something I've never forgotten. Use that pain, but don't let it consume you. She was right. I'd been carrying around so much anger, letting it drive me, but also letting it isolate me. She helped me see that success wasn't just about proving my father wrong. It had to be about building something I actually wanted, not just running away from something I hated. Senior year, I graduated with honors. I already had a portfolio of work connections in the Boston music scene and a job offer from a small music production company. The salary was $45,000 a year, more money than I'd ever imagined making. I was 22 years old, and I was going to be okay, more than okay. The next 8 years were a blur of growth. The production company expanded, and I became their creative director. I was good at my job, really good. I understood how to connect the right music with the right projects. At 28, I took a risk and started my own company, a boutique music licensing firm that connected independent artists with commercial opportunities, film, television, advertising. There was a gap in the market, and I filled it. The business grew faster than I'd expected. We represented talented artists who'd been overlooked by bigger agencies. We developed a reputation for quality and reliability. By the time I turned 32, my company was valued at $12 million. I'd married Angela, and we had a daughter named Sophia, who was 3 years old with my dark hair and her mother's smile. We lived in a beautiful house in a nice suburb outside Boston, not Connecticut. I'd deliberately chosen somewhere else, somewhere that was entirely mine. In all those years, I never contacted my parents. Not once. They never contacted me either. Sometimes I'd see my sister Caroline's social media posts. She'd become an accountant, gotten married, had 2 kids. She never reached out beyond occasionally liking a photo I posted. No messages, no phone calls. It was like we'd been strangers all along and were just now being honest about it. I built an entire life without them, proved every single thing my father said was wrong, and I'd done it completely on my own terms. That brings us back to Tuesday morning. I'm 37 years old now, sitting in my corner office with its view of Boston Harbor. When Julia first buzzes to say my parents are in the lobby, I feel this jolt of old anger. That 17-year-old kid with $40 in his pocket wants to tell her to call security, have them thrown out. But I'm not 17 anymore. I'm curious now. Why are they here? What could they possibly want after 20 years of absolute silence? I tell Julia to give me 10 minutes, then send them in. I use those minutes to call Angela. She answers on the second ring, and I tell her what's happening. Her voice is steady. Whatever you decide, I support you. But remember who you are now. Not who you were. Who you are. When my parents walk through my office door, I barely recognize them. My father looks smaller somehow. Thinner. He's in his late 60s now, and the weight of age sits heavy on his shoulders. My mother looks exhausted with deep circles under her eyes. They both freeze when they see me taking in the office, the view, the evidence of a success they told me I'd never achieve. I don't stand up, don't offer to shake hands. I just look at them and say, "What do you want?" The silence stretches out. Finally, my father speaks. His voice is different than I remember. Softer, uncertain. He tells me his business failed 3 years ago. Bad investments. Debt he couldn't manage. They lost the house I grew up in. They're living in a small apartment now, barely getting by. And my mother is sick. Some chronic condition that requires expensive treatment. They burned through their retirement savings covering medical bills. They need money, specifically $50,000 to cover immediate debts and 6 months of my mother's treatment. My father can barely get the words out. His pride is clearly shattered, having to be here asking his son for help, the son he threw away. "We know we don't deserve to ask," he says. My mother finally speaks up, her voice trembling. "We were wrong. We were terrible parents to you, but please, we're desperate." I sit there listening and feel nothing like what I expected. No triumph. No satisfaction. Mostly, I just feel tired. Sad. I ask them where Caroline is. Why isn't she helping? My mother dabs at her eyes with a tissue that's already falling apart from use. She helps when she can, but she has her own family, her own expenses. The translation is clear. Caroline won't sacrifice for them the way they expect me to. The golden child has her limits. I stand up and walk to the window, look out at the harbor where sailboats are cutting through the gray water. Behind me I can hear my mother crying softly. I turn back to face them. "I'm going to tell you a story," I say. I describe that first night, sitting in the diner counting $40 over and over. The muffin Dorothy gave me, sleeping in bus stations and youth shelters, working 3 jobs at 17 years old. The sound of locks being changed while I stood on the sidewalk. Every detail. My father's face crumbles as he listens. My mother is openly sobbing now. I tell them about graduating college while they didn't bother to attend. About building a company from nothing. About the family I created, the daughter who will never know what it feels like to doubt whether her parents love her. My voice stays calm. Factual. Not cruel. Just honest. "You gave me $40, I say, and told me I'd never amount to anything." I walk to my desk and pull out my checkbook. Write carefully. Tear off the check and hand it to my father. He looks down at it, and his face completely crumbles. "It's for $40,000. That's $1,000 for every dollar you gave me," I tell him. "Call it a return on your investment." I pause. "But that's all. No more. Ever. Use it wisely." My father tries to speak, but can't find words. My mother whispers, "Thank you. We're so sorry. So sorry." I look at both of them and say the thing I've learned over 20 years of building a life they said I never could. "I forgave you a long time ago. Not for you. For me. Or..." But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I have my own family now. That chapter is closed. I walk to the door and open it. They understand. They leave without trying to argue or ask for more. I close the door behind them and know with absolute certainty that I will never see them again. That check is the last thread connecting us, and once they cash it, even that will be gone. I sit alone in my office for about 30 minutes after they leave. Julia brings me coffee without asking, sets it on my desk quietly. She asks if I'm okay. I realize I actually am. There's no rage burning in my chest, no pain, just this quiet sense of acceptance, peace even. I think about the $40,000. I can easily afford it. The company's doing well, and I've been smart with investments. But the amount was symbolic. $1,000 for every dollar they gave me. Proof that I did amount to something. Proof that I became someone who could show mercy even though I never received it. I call Angela and tell her everything. She listens quietly. When I finish, she asks how I feel. I answer honestly, free. That's the word that comes to me, free. I leave the office early, something I rarely do. Pick up Sophia from preschool myself instead of having the nanny do it. When she sees me, she runs across the playground screaming "Daddy" and launches herself into my arms. I hold her tight and feel overwhelmingly grateful for this moment, this child, this life I built from $40 and determination. That night after dinner, I think about the path from 17 to 37. Being kicked out was the worst thing that ever happened to me. The trauma of it shaped years of my life, but it also forced me to develop a resilience I might never have found otherwise. It taught me that I could survive things I thought would destroy me. I don't excuse what my parents did, but I can acknowledge that I grew from the adversity in ways I couldn't have if everything had been easy. I think about the people who helped me along the way. Dorothy the waitress with her free muffin, Mr. Patterson the guidance counselor who made phone calls, the youth shelter workers, my college roommates who became brothers, Angela who taught me that success isn't just about winning, it's about becoming someone you're proud to be. Over the last 5 years, I've quietly funded a scholarship for homeless youth pursuing music education. It's called the Eleanor Martinez Music Fund, named after my grandmother. So far, it's helped 19 kids get to college. That's my real legacy, not the money or the company or proving my father wrong. It's those 19 kids who got a chance they might not have had otherwise. I think about what Angela told me years ago. Use the pain, but don't let it consume you. I did use it, channeled it into drive and compassion, but I never let it make me bitter or cruel. Choosing to give my parents $40,000 was proof that I won. Not because of the money, because I could give it without needing anything back from them. No apology would have been enough anyway. You can't apologize your way out of 20 years of absence. The real victory was building a life so full and rich and meaningful that they couldn't diminish it just by showing up. That night I put Sophia to bed. She asks me to tell her a story. I tell her an age-appropriate version about a boy who had to be very brave when things got hard. About how when people don't believe in you, you have to believe in yourself. About how being hurt doesn't mean you have to hurt other people back. About how family is the people who show up for you, not just the people you share blood with. She falls asleep halfway through. I sit in her doorway watching her breathe this perfect little person who will never doubt that she's loved. My parents did a terrible thing to me, but they also accidentally did me a favor. They forced me to become fully myself instead of some version they'd designed. They cut me loose and I learned to fly. Would I wish that experience on anyone? Never. Would I go back and change it if I could? I honestly don't know anymore. Some people spend their whole lives trying to please parents who can never be pleased. They twist themselves into shapes that don't fit, pursuing dreams that aren't theirs, living for approval they'll never receive. I got free of that at 17. It was painful, it was traumatic, but it was also, in a strange way, liberating. I returned to something I've learned. When people tell you who you'll be, they're usually telling you who they are. My father said I'd never amount to anything because he was terrified of becoming nothing himself. His identity was so tied up in control and traditional markers of success that he couldn't imagine any other path being valid. That was his limitation, not mine. The real success isn't the $12 million company or the corner office or even the $40,000 check. It's being able to respond to cruelty with boundaries instead of revenge. It's building something beautiful from broken pieces. It's raising a daughter who will know unconditional love. It's funding scholarships for kids who remind me of who I was. It's going to bed every night knowing I became someone I'm proud to be, regardless of whether anyone else is proud of me. I don't know if my parents will use that money wisely. I don't know if they'll gamble it away or if it will actually help them. And here's the thing I've finally learned. It doesn't matter. I didn't give it to them because I think they deserve it or because I'm hoping for gratitude or a relationship. I gave it because I could, because I'm in a position where $50,000 won't change my life, but it might change theirs, because showing mercy makes me more human, not less. Would I do it again? Would I give them more if they asked? No, that door is closed. But I don't regret this one gesture. It's a period at the end of a very long sentence, a way of saying this is finished now. We can both move on. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to think about it. What would you have done if the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally threw you away and then 20 years later showed up needing help? What would your response be? Would you slam the door? Would you help? Would you do something in between? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious how different people would handle this. And if this story resonated with you at all, hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who might need to hear it, someone who's going through their own version of being told they'll never amount to anything. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it wasn't easy, these things never are. But I hope maybe it gave you something to think about. Maybe it reminded you that other people's limitations don't have to become your own. Maybe it showed you that the opinion that matters most is the one you have of yourself. Whatever you're going through, whatever people have told you that you can't do or be or become, I want you to know that they're wrong. Not might be wrong, are wrong. You get to write your own story. It might be harder than you imagined. You might have to do it with nothing but determination and $40 worth of belief in yourself. But you can do it. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And remember that sometimes the greatest success is simply refusing to become what people said you would be.